You are listening to Q across Canada on CBC Radio 1 and across North America on Sirius XM 169 and from PRX. My name is Tom Power. Take a listen to this.
Question, tell me how you feel about this. Try to control me, boy, you get dismissed. Pay my own condo and I pay my own bills. Always 50-50 in relationships. The shoes on my feet,
I bought it. I mean, what a jam, right? That is Independent Women by Destiny's Child. That song came out more than 20 years ago. Listen, I can't begin to tell you what a big song that was. I mean, you heard it everywhere, in every club, on the radio. You couldn't go to the pet store without hearing that song. You can hear it on the Charlie's Angels soundtrack. And for my next guest, it was a huge moment in her career. Michelle Williams had just joined Destiny's Child. This was the first single to feature her vocals. And after the single came out, Michelle's career in singing and acting really took off. She went on to release music as a solo artist. She landed roles on stage and on TV. But even though she was achieving all those great things, Michelle was still struggling with depression. And she details what happened in her new memoir. It's called Checking In, How Getting Real About Depression Saved My Life and Can Save Yours. It is my great joy to say that Michelle Williams joins us now. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I tell you what I am. I will never sleep again due to sheer joy of when they said shoes on my feet in that song and you took your shoe up and held it in the camera. I was worried to play that to you. I thought you were going to go, I never want to hear that song again.
No, it's hilarious because they're just some sandals that I bought for a vacation last year. And I said, hey, I bought these too. They may not be like expensive designer, but I bought them. There's still the shoes on my feet.
You bought it.
I bought them. That's facts.
Tell me, I want to talk about the book. Tell me why now to tell this story.
Ooh, well, I have to ask my publisher. It's funny because this journey with the book started in 2019 and they said, well, it's going to take about 2 years, for all of this to come out. I was like, 2 years? Could you imagine me announcing an album and say, but it'll be out in 2 years? Like, who does that? But in the world of book publishing, they have a whole different system, especially if you're dealing with the publishing house. And, but it couldn't have come at a better time. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. But why now? The true answer from my heart, though, is because I wanted to help give people something to identify and say, oh, that's what it is. That's what I've been feeling, because I didn't have words for it in the 7th grade of what to put to it. I didn't have words for it until I was in my 30s. But now people can read my book. Not that I'm diagnosing you or have the, I can't assess you, but I was like, maybe I can tell people what I'd been going through that can maybe accelerate their plan of action.
7th grade.
Yeah, 7th grade is when I started feeling symptoms of depression. I just didn't know in the 7th grade that that's what it was. I was isolating. My grades had dropped. I was sleeping a lot. And I just thought, well, maybe this is what it's like to turn into a teenager, maybe. Is this what it's like to be an adult? It's like, you're not an adult. You're in the 7th grade. I felt like, is this what it is from going from elementary school to adulthood almost? I was thinking all of these things and not thinking it was depression. Matter of fact, I don't even know. It just wasn't in my mind. It wasn't in my word bank. Depression was not even in my word bank at that age.
It's a funny thing, hey, because you can start to convince yourself that this is just how I am. This is it forever. This is
just how I am, and this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then you can maybe even look at family members and be like, well, Uncle so-and-so was like this, so maybe I'm going to be like this too. And it's like, no, not necessarily. There are tools to help you maybe not have, because certain mental illnesses could be generational or genetic. I'm not a pro at this, but there are certain things that can be. But I'm like, we're in 2021, and I'm just wondering, do we have better tools and resources so that you don't have to be like Uncle so-and-so or dad or mom?
It's one thing to be struggling and, be home on the couch. It's another thing to be struggling and have the world staring at you for the first time in your life. And I want to tell a little bit of that story. So you got your first big break singing Back Up with Monica, and you write a little bit about the overnight success you had after joining Destiny's Child. I want to take a listen to some more music.
You thought that I'd be stressed without you, but I'm chilling. You thought I wouldn't sell without you, sold 9 million. I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor. I'm gonna make it. I'm a survivor. Keep on surviving.
From 2001, that's Destiny's Child with Survivor. Michelle Williams is my guest. So you joined the group in 2000 after 2 of its founding members left the group. It really does change for you overnight, and I think it's important to establish that before we talk about what happens after. What do you remember about joining Destiny's Child?
I remember getting a phone call saying, hey, we'd love to meet with you. So I flew down to Houston, and Miss Tina, Beyonce's mother, picked me up from the airport and took me to their house. It was a very casual meeting, and they were letting me know the possibilities and what to expect. And I said, okay. But my plans were to finish college. And a few weeks later go by, they're like, hey, do you think you can get to LA to film the video for Say My Name? And I was like, oh, but I'm supposed to be shadowing the county coroner because I wanted to go into forensic psychology. And so I was supposed to be like looking at an autopsy. Really, I was supposed to be shadowing the county coroner. So it was like...
They're different worlds, Michelle. It's the Say My Name video and going to the county coroner. They seem, forgive me, they seem diametrically opposed.
Different. Very different. So I was like, what am I going to do? Well, I got on the plane and went to LA and filmed the video for Say My Name. And it was like, there's a new member in Destiny's Child. And I was like, really? Because they weren't sure yet about really what they wanted to do with Destiny's Child. Are they going to introduce new members? What's going to happen? Am I just filling in? And Say My Name was the beginning of a whole new life for me.
A whole new life of award shows, of interviews, of touring the world, of the stuff that people dream of. How were you managing mentally during all that?
At that time, I think it was the adrenaline and excitement where it maybe soothed depressive symptoms, or I was moving so quick, I didn't have time to be depressed. There was no time for depression. Depression was not on the itinerary.
When did it start creeping back in?
Now, it did creep back in maybe within my 2nd or 3rd year in the group, I believe, if I can recall correctly. And I remember going to, I think I went to our manager at the time, and I said, I think this is depression. I think I'm depressed. And he was like, I don't know, Michelle. I mean, you guys are doing great. You got deals, you got Barbie dolls, you're about to go on tour. And he was like, I don't know if I'd call it depression. And you there's so much good going on for you and around you. And I was thinking to myself, it was correct. Everything he said was fact. And so then I just, once again, I said, well, maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm homesick. And that was some of it too. Life as I knew changed. And so I just went on ahead. I didn't treat it. I just kind of, I wouldn't say ignored it, but I just kept it moving. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever feel ungrateful? Like to have all the things you'd ever wanted and to still not feel good?
Oh, no, I didn't feel ungrateful.
Like that's the silliness that I can have in my head when I feel depressed, is that like all these great things are happening. And when I feel sick or when I feel sad, I must be ungrateful. There must be something wrong with me.
Yeah. You know what? For me personally, I was able to separate the two.
Yeah.
and say this doesn't have anything to do with the other.
Oh.
Especially when I had been dealing with it since a young age. Fame didn't cause depression. Destiny's Child didn't cause depression. It was something that I had already been dealing with. So I was already able to separate it from gratitude. I'm always grateful. Even in my most darkest moments of despair, I still found a way to have a sliver of gratitude, a sliver of hope as well, just a tinge.
I find it interesting that like when you join Destiny's Child, it's amazing. I mean, you're in one of the biggest bands that will ever exist, one of the biggest groups that will ever happen, right? And you write a little bit about how you were sort of parodied. You were, it was made clear in the media that you were not the star of the band. You were made fun of on Saturday Night Live. What does that do to you?
Well, even in those early times, I was like, hey, I'm new here. What's going on? And so again, it was just suck it up. I mean, you're being parodied on Saturday Night Live. This has gone beyond the mocking in the school cafeteria. You're on Saturday Night Live. So could I look at it as, oh my gosh, they're making fun of me on Saturday Night Live? And a part of me had that too. But a part of me was like, whoa, you've made it. When Saturday Night Live is kind of, whether it's poking fun or, but I think too, there was some curiosity. People didn't know me. So let's poke the bear. Let's see. Let's see. Let's keep poking and see what she's made of.
Does that make it a bit awkward in the band?
Not at the time, and we never talked about it. When it happened on that set, I laughed about it because I joined in because people think I was just there. And it's like, no, I had fatigue just like the other ladies. I was in rehearsals and performances on the same planes, trains, and automobiles like the other two ladies. So I didn't, at that time, it did not affect me. It didn't affect me. And then there was a part of me that was a little naive too. Like, wait, are they making fun of me? A part of me didn't want to think that that's what was going on as well.
There's a line in the book I want to read out to you. I mean, you have such a strong relationship to your faith, a strong relationship with God. And you write, anxiety is not a representation of truth. Anxiety is nothing more than our fears magnified.
Yeah.
What do you say to yourself now when those fears surface?
The things that I've worried about, the majority have not happened.
What do you mean?
Anxiety is, fear, false evidence appearing real. That's a quoted acronym of the word fear. You can see a bug on the wall. Oh my gosh, it's going to hop on me. It's going to devour me. It's a spider. It's not even thinking about you. It's not gonna literally hop off the wall and jump onto you and devour you. It's not gonna happen. I promise you. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
So that's how I am with certain situations. And as far as my track record of my faith is, I've always been provided for. I probably didn't get everything that I wanted, but it was everything that I needed to sustain myself throughout this time in my life. And I try to look at things from that perspective. I'm not perfect, because obviously there was a time when depression did kind of take me under. I was in a pit and I had to just step by step climb out of it, whatever you call it, or friends got a rope, and I credit my tribe of pulling me through as well.
What does that feel like when you're in the pit?
I I talk about it in the book where it's like you just feel like you're just swimming in a sea of darkness. There's no, it's you feel hopeless, you know, and I was a little too comfortable with the thoughts of even suicide, you know. Um, I go into detail more in the book of the plans that I made should that happen, you know. Um, I was hopeless. And I was even talking to God. I was like, I've lived a pretty decent life. You can take me now. I'm okay. I've done all I'm going to do. What more can I be doing? Like, I was having those thoughts too.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. And it's something that family and friends did not enjoy hearing.
And in 2018, you end up checking yourself into a treatment center. And what you decided to do when you did that was you released a statement about why that was happening. Why was it important for you to be public about it?
Oh, I didn't want to be public about it.
Really?
What happened was, while in the treatment center, I got a phone call at the nurses station and they said, hey, someone's on the phone for you. And it was my manager. And someone had reached out to them. I believe it was someone from TMZ, wanting confirmation that I was in fact in the hospital. By the time TMZ gets their hands on something, they pretty much already know what's going on. And that's when we had to say, okay, now, how do you want this to come out? I didn't want it to come out at all. But if it had to come out, how do you want this to come out? And it was a courageous step to say, you know what? I'll say it. I'll put it out there that this is what's going on. I didn't want to take any chances of letting any other outlet say it first because I didn't know what the headline would be. I didn't know. So I'm in the treatment center bracing myself for God knows what.
Like what were you worried about?
What was going to be said?
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't even told my parent. I don't even think I told my parents. I hadn't told family and close friends what was going on. People found out when the statement went out. It wasn't for people to know at the time. I eventually would have shared it because I've been talking about the area of mental health since 2012. So it's not something that I've been shy about talking about. But that particular moment, I was like, wait, I'll talk about this one day. And that one day ended up being the very same week that I'm in the hospital, which is unfortunate because I think it could keep people from seeking the help they need. Basically saying, well, if I'm a public figure, will news get out that I'm seeking help?
It dehumanizes you. It keeps you from, because you're a public figure, that you are not experiencing the same grief and sadness and depression and anxiety that any of us can feel.
Absolutely, because, you know, at any other job, you wouldn't put it in the corporation's newsletter that so-and-so sought treatment. They're getting help for an addiction or a mental illness. That wouldn't happen. It would not happen at all.
But that being said, I also think there's a tendency for people who aren't in the public eye to think that only if I can get to the level of someone in Destiny's Child, if only I can get to that thing, then all my problems will go away.
Oh, yeah. I was that person, by the way. I was like, oh, as soon as I can get out the house and go to college and start making some money, whew, life is going to be easy because money makes things easier, right?
What have you learned about that?
I've learned that money might help you solve some problems a little quicker. You know, I was able to pay off my student loans quicker, you know, but it didn't fill the void or heal the wound, basically.
And I think that's why it's really important for people who have a public face like yourself to let people know that there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with having these days and nothing wrong with feeling this way, you know?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, it depends on the level of comfort that you have. You might not be sharing your life from the mountaintop like I've decided to do. But as long as you are saying, you know what, I'm going to go process my pain, I'm going to go process this trauma, that's all I want you to do.
What do you want people to take from your story?
Healing, some practical steps, some tools, and hopefully it gives them some courage as well.
If someone was struggling reading this book or even listening to us right now, what would you say to them?
There's hope. I'm a witness. Look, it's hard work. It's a daily thing. It's a weekly thing that I'm always making sure that I'm doing, because there are moments where if I get off of my routine, it tilts me a little bit. So it's like, no, consistency can seem so boring, especially when you have lived a life of adventure. Everything is changing every day. You're in a new state every day. You're in a new hotel every day. You're on a new stage every day. But consistency for me, I'm like, oh my God. But it's the best thing for me.
I want to play you something now, and this is not Destiny's Child. Take a listen.
Okay.
We gotta hold on to what we got. It doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got each other, and that's a lot for love. We'll give it a shot. Oh, we're halfway there.
That is Michelle Williams, my guest, performing Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer on season 2 of The Masked Singer in 2019. You're wearing this butterfly costume, and you've said that going on stage in a costume where no one can see you is one of the best things you've done in all of entertainment. Why is that?
I don't know, because I felt like I wasn't going to be judged because no one knew who it was, And so, but I try to take that with me. And that was a lesson to take with me. Just get on stage as if nobody knows who you are. The confidence that you had with that mask on, try to have that same confidence with it off.
But isn't it a bit hard to sing with a mask on?
It wasn't, because there was a part, they were so good with the costume design. There were vents and everything that was in the mask. Plus, I'm always cold. So I didn't mind the extra warmth. It was fine for me, but other people were dripping in sweat under their costumes.
It's a really remarkable story, and I'm grateful that you shared it with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
What do you think you've what do you think you've learned in writing this story down and telling it?
That is like, girl, you are brave to get out here and do this, to take a risk of maybe people seeing you differently. At this point, I don't care. People have seen me in all type of different ways, but I just think it's cementing me on a new path and a new purpose. Like I said, I've lived a great life. I've had a blast, but sometimes you do evolve into a new purpose or a new calling. And I believe this is what it is for me right now.
Michelle, joining an already established group, getting ready for that kind of criticism, being parodied and getting through it, playing the biggest stages on earth, dealing with mental illness, speaking openly about it. The only word that came into mind as I was reading your book was courage, was bravery.
Wow.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And guess what? We're going to do this in person, especially because I love Nando's, if anything else.
Yeah, I like Nando's. I'll go to Nando's. I like chicken and Nando's.
But I know there are other places too.
Swiss Chalet is pretty good up here. You ever been there?
Yes, I think I have.
Yeah, that's pretty good. They got the chalet sauce. It's all right.
Yes, I have been there. Yeah. So listen, the shopping is good. I love the clothing stores there. I love the architecture there. So I'm on the way.
Well, we'll save you a seat here at studio.
All right, please do, friend.
Lovely to meet you, Michelle.
You too. Take care.
Michelle Williams is an American singer and actor. Her new memoir is called Checking In: How Getting Real About Depression Saved My Life and Can Save Yours. It's out everywhere now.